Record. Hey, this is April 30th. It is a Thursday, regular class. We're going to get into Chapter 6 with the Outsiders. A couple things I have for you as we get into this whole starty thing. I've told you I will keep you guys updated as I find out actual things getting passed down to me, and we have not found out anything. There was supposed to be some big admin meeting that happened this week, and I was going to be updated whenever they found out more, and they have not said anything. My guess is that everyone is waiting on the governor to speak, who's supposed to make an announcement tomorrow, Friday, talking about when things are going to start opening up again. If they open stuff up, they're going to hopefully soon after that let kids come back into the school. But my guess is they're not going to make any announcements on letting kids to come back into the school to get things until the governor makes an announcement. So we're just sort of waiting on that one. I do have one small thing I can announce to you. Although it's not about going into the schools, it's about stuff for next year. If you have a school iPad, they are making changes to school iPads for next year. The change is going to be, if you have a school iPad, they are going to start locking it down and wiping all apps from all school iPads. Meaning they are getting rid of FaceTime, they're getting rid of chat, they're getting rid of all social media, and only apps you can have on your school iPad are ones that teachers download to it. So you can no longer have any other random app there. If you have your own iPad, that is a parent choice. Parents can choose to opt in and have us wipe it and then lock it into stuff, or parents can choose not to. And that is up to parents on whether they think kids are making poor choices with it or not. So if you have school iPads starting next year, there is no like downloading Fortnite or Minecraft or any other things to it. You can only have things on there that teachers are going to have. Again, that is because it's all fun and games until kids make poor choices, and you know the kid that keeps watching TikTok videos in the middle of class and annoying the teacher, and you're like, what are you going to do, teacher man? Well, apparently they decided that now they're going to lock out your iPad, and now you can no longer download things to it. So it's all fun and games until that annoying kid ruined it for everybody. So just figure I'd give you a heads up. So school iPads, that'll be the change for next year. Your own iPad, that's not going to change a whole lot. So for those of you who have a school iPad, I highly recommend that this summer, you just sit there and pet the iPad the entire time. It's like, I'm going to miss you, iPad, and take little pictures of it with it and stuff like that. Now, if you have your own phone, that's different, but I'm talking about the school iPad thing. So that's the one big thing I know that they're talking about for next year. All right. Boo. There we go. Skyward is now updated. I did get a new printer yesterday. Probably not all that exciting for you guys, but it was really exciting for me in general. So now I was able to print and get things caught up as far as that goes. So anything on Skyward should be updated as of now. Elijah, what's your question?
Oh, no, I didn't have a question. I just had a comment. Oh, I'm kind of glad I don't have to be here next year then, because they're just going to control everything on your iPad.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a plus.
Because we're following Noblesville, because Noblesville already is doing this. And so they're a couple years ahead of us. So if you're going to another school, you might want to ask to find out, because I don't know how other schools are doing it. So it's not just.
I don't think that Plainfield will do it because they're not in the same district as you.
Yeah. Good luck then. Yeah, I have no idea. Yay. And Pearlington. What's up, Pearls?
Sir, you put a wrong grade in the grade book. You put it as 0, but I clearly did the Socrative yesterday.
Well, it depends on when you did the Socrative yesterday, because I graded the Socratives at like 3 o'clock yesterday, and then anything after that won't go in until today. So that was
yeah, I did it at 7 p.m.
Yeah, because that was after I already went through and graded them. So then you have to wait for the second round of grading. Yeah, so
will it be kind of late?
Keep yelling at me, but you can't yell at me for your slackerism.
No, will it be kind of late?
No, it's not late until next week.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's just when I put it in today, you'll be good to go. But it was fun to freak you out. Elijah, I just called on you. What's up?
I didn't put my hand up.
Oh, no, I apologize. Elijah, that was my fault. Back off. Jackson, it's a day that ends in Y. What question do you have?
So about the quiz yesterday, I took it the day before yesterday.
There was no quiz yesterday. There was a Socrative yesterday, but the Socrative wasn't open until yesterday. If you mean
Well,
the quiz from
then I don't
Tuesday.
know how I took it, but I took it during the meeting, and I did it yesterday, and I saw that there were the same questions. So
then it was probably you logged into the wrong one. So you'll probably want to make sure you go back and log into the correct one. Hang on one second. I'll check my grade book to see if I get to harass you. And yeah, I don't have one for you from yesterday. So
what's
you want to
the code?
that's a good question. I should have a video or something you can go watch, or a website you can go look at. Thanks for letting me make fun of you. Ooh, one other thing real quick. I told you guys I won the thing. Yay. I love you. All right. What? This is my gift card. What? Well, I'm trying to talk to people.
I want to see.
You gotta back off. Anyway, I told you last Friday that I won the Spirit Week thing. This is what I won for it. I got a gift card to Starbucks for $5 shiny dollars, and so I'm all excited. So I know I could give this to Brenda, but I'm not. She's out of luck, so you can't try and steal it from me. I see you getting all excited, Kaylee. I just wanted to brag about the fact that now I have a $5 Starbucks gift card. So that's a small thing. I'm sorry you hurt your knee again. I'm not gonna kid. My goodness gracious! No one's. Hey, do not leave your trash in my room. That is not how this works. Take it out to the garage like a. I will put that in your bed.
Right.
All right.
I grabbed it.
Anyway, back to here. Hey, instead of me making fun of my child, moving on from there. Skyward is updated, and so again, I see the TikTok of me. Nicely done. Is updated. So again, if you see that the grade is not updated on Skyward, let me know, and I will go double check. If you did the yesterday's Socrative last night, I'll be updating that as soon as this gets done. That's the next thing on my to-do list. Zoom, make good chat choices, because when it pops up on there, that's when I have to like kick you guys out. I don't care if you guys use the chat to make comments and talk about what we're doing. That's fine. It's when you guys make random comments to get yourself in trouble, or are sitting there on your phone watching TikToks as opposed to paying attention, making poor choices. The best thing is, I said that aiming it at one kid, and I saw 5 kids' heads pop up at the exact same time. Even though I know one kid I was aiming at, I say it all that I had like 5 kids, like a bunch of little gophers out there, like you look around like that. Horrible children. Anyway, works from previous weeks are now late if you have not turned them in. And we have a quiz coming up, just so you are aware. On Tuesday, you're going to have to read some of the chapters all on your own. I'm going to be reading some with you today to get through 6, but you're going to have to read 7 and 8 with your own brain, just so that you are aware. Come on, computer, click. There we go. For those of you who are missing stuff, you can go into the e-learning page like Jackson. Instead of asking me, because I'm going to lie to you, just go on the e-learning page. It'll tell you all the stuff on there. And then let's see on that one. Today we're going to read chapter 6. We'll go through and do talky thing in here in just a moment to try and help you. And then you're going to have to read 7 and 8. So hopefully that helps you out a wee bit. Click. The quiz from Tuesday. I still have like 23 of you who have not taken the quiz from this past Tuesday. So I'm going to highly recommend take a quiz from this past Tuesday, because you wait till next week, it becomes a late grade. So just trying to help you not do poorly on that one. That Socrative is still open. OUTQUIZ. The one for today is BROVI 430. So again, if you're wanting to screenshot, you can. I'll show it to you again at the very end. But today's is BROVI 430. So on this one, you can't do it yet because you have to connect it to something from chapter 6. So wait till we go through chapter 6 first. So it's connecting an event from chapter 6 to your life in some way. There's going to be a ton of things that happen today in this chapter. You are going to pick just one and tell me how it is similar to something in your life. So as we go through it, figure out a way to connect it to something that happens to you, because there's a whole bunch of things to choose from. Also, you're going to need to finish chapter 8 by Tuesday. We'll read chapter 6 today, read chapter 5 yesterday. 7 and 8 are not super long, but you're going to have to get to those all on your own. All right, then talky bits. Outsiders, so again, give you the quick review. You've got Johnny and Ponyboy and all the other ones. They meet the Socs at the drive-in. On the way home, they get picked up by the, find out that Cherry's and Marsha's boyfriends beat up Johnny at one point, and then Derry slaps Ponyboy. They run away to the park. They get confronted by the greasers. Bob stabs one of them. Not Bob. Johnny stabs Bob. Sorry, how embarrassing. Ponyboy was getting dragged. They talk to Dally. Dally helps them run away. They go and hide in a church, and that's roughly where we were, them hiding. Oh, hiding in a church, and then we got to, there's the church. They're reading Gone with the Wind, which is about, what do you call it, the Civil War, and they go back and forth and talk about that. Hydrogen peroxide, which is for your hair or for wounds and make your hair a little bit lighter, and you can dump it all in there. They talk about the sunrise. We get to the sunrise poem, which is going to play a role coming up in this one also, about the whole idea of everything that you love is eventually going to die off and disappear. So do everything, hold on to it while you can, and that's the idea of staying gold. Buck's T-Bird, this is what Dally pulls up in, and he's going to take them out to go to Dairy Queen to go get food, and that is what his Thunderbird or T-Bird looks like when he pulls up. He says, I am now carrying a gun or a heater with him. They say, hey, you know, you're going to kill people with guns. He says, I don't keep it loaded. This is going to play a big part in the story coming up. The fact that Dally carries a gun, but the gun is not loaded. Remember that. It plays a big role. And then to help you again, here are all of the characters. I tried to give you a little thing that might make it a little bit easier on you to remember who they all are. So if you take a look at it on there. So I tried to break it down. If you want to screenshot it or come back to this to help you out, it's the main characters in it. So when it comes time for like a quiz or something like that, you're welcome to use it. But I tried to give you a little description and ages and stuff like that. All right. I think that's all the different things I have for you to get to reading for today. So we're going to start on page 85 with me reading with you guys. Where you have to get to for next week is going to be, let me find the page number for you, and I'll send it out on Remind. It's going to be page 130. So we're going to get all the way to page 100 today, and you're going to have to read 30 pages on your own by Tuesday of next week. There is the audio book online, which will hopefully make things a little bit easier on you in some way. All right, and then to here. All right, page 85. They're now going out to go get food, and we should be good to go from there. All right. Johnny, oh, we had just found out that Cherry, wait, let's go to here. There's Dally's T-Bird to help you out. Cherry, the popular cheerleader, is going to be the spy who is going to be helping out all of the greasers. Johnny gagged, and I almost dropped my hot fudge sundae. Cherry? We both said at the same time. The Soc? Yeah, Dally said. She came over to the vacant lot the night Two-Bit was jumped. Shepard and some of his outfit and us were hanging around there, and she drives up in her little old Stingray. All right, if you don't know what a Stingray is, it's a classic Corvette, looks something like this. This is what Cherry the Soc is driving, which is a classic, awesome car. And that took a lot of nerve. Some of us were all for jumping her then and there. Yeah, that's right. A bunch of greasers were going to jump this cheerleader girl just because she was a Soc. So dudes were going to beat up a girl, you know, to make it all fair. Her being the dead kid's girl and all, but Two-Bit stopped us. Man, next time I want a broad, I'm going to pick up my own kind. Yeah, Johnny said slowly. And I wondered if, like me, he was remembering another voice, also tough and just deepened into manhood, saying, next time you want a broad, pick up your own kind. That would be Bob's voice that he's remembering, by the way. It gave me the creeps. Dally was going on. She says she felt that the whole mess was her fault, which it is, and that she'd keep up with what was coming off with the Socs in the Rumble and would testify that the Socs were drunk and looking for a fight and that you fought back in self-defense. He gave a grim laugh. Man, that little gal sure does hate me. I offered to take her over to the Dingo for a Coke, and she said no thank you, and then told me where I could go in very polite terms. She was afraid of loving you, I thought. So Cherry Balance, the cheerleader, Bob's girl, the Soc, was trying to help us. No, it wasn't Cherry the Soc who was helping us. It was Cherry the dreamer, who watched sunsets and couldn't stand fights. And it was hard to believe a Soch would help us, even a Soch that dug sunsets. Dally didn't notice. He'd forgotten about it already. Man, this place is out of it, meaning the town they're in, Windricksville. What do they do for kicks around here? Play checkers? Dally surveyed the scene without interest. I ain't never been in the country before. Have you two? Johnny shook his head, but I said, I don't know. Dad used to take us all hunting. I've been in the country before. How'd you know about the church? Oh, I got a cousin that lives around here somewheres. He tipped me off that it'd make a tough hideout in case of something. Hey, Pony Boy, I heard you was the best shot in the family. Yeah, I said. Derry always got the most ducks, though, him and Dad. Soda and I goofed around too much and scared most of our game away. I couldn't tell Dally that I hated to shoot things. He'd think I was soft. Hey, that was a good idea. I mean, cutting your hair and bleaching it. They printed your descriptions in the paper, but you sure wouldn't fit them now. Johnny had been quietly finishing his 5th barbecue sandwich, but now he announced, we're going to go back and turn ourselves in. It was Dally's turn to gag. Then he swore a while, and then he turned to Johnny and demanded, what? I said, we're going back and turn ourselves in. Johnny, sorry. Said we're going to go back and turn ourselves in? Johnny repeated in a quiet voice. I did it wrong the first time. I apologize. I was surprised, but not shocked. I thought about turning ourselves in lots of times, but apparently the whole idea was a jolt to Dallas. I got a good chance of being let off easy, Johnny said desperately, and I didn't know if it was Dally he was trying to convince or himself. I ain't got no record with the fuzz, meaning the police, and it was self-defense. Pony Boy and Cherry can testify to that, and I don't aim to stay in that church all my life. Second, God bless him. Right there, open. There we go. There we go. All right. That was quite a speech for Johnny. His big black eyes grew bigger than ever at the thought of going to the police station, for Johnny had a deathly fear of cops. But he went on. We won't tell that you helped us, Dally, and we'll give you back the gun and what's left of the money and say we hitchhiked back so we won't get into trouble. Okay? Dally was chewing the corner of his ID card, which gave his age as 21 so he could buy liquor. You sure you want to go back? Us greasers get it worse than anyone else. Johnny nodded. I'm sure. It ain't fair for Pony Boy to have to stay up in that church with Derry and Soda worrying about him all the time. I don't guess. He swallowed and tried not to look eager. I don't guess my parents are worried about me or anything. The boys are worried, Dally said in a matter-of-fact voice. Two-Bit was going to Texas to hunt for you. My parents, Johnny repeated doggedly. Did they ask about me? No, snapped Dally. They didn't. Oh, blast it, Johnny. What did it matter? Shoot, my old man don't give a hang whether I'm in jail or dead in a car wreck or drunk in the gutter. That don't bother me none. Johnny didn't say anything, but he stared at the dashboard with such hurt bewilderment that I could have bawled. Dally cussed under his breath and nearly tore out the transmission of the T-Bird as we roared out of the Dairy Queen. I felt sorry for Dally. He meant it when he said he didn't care about his parents, but he and the rest of the gang knew Johnny cared and did everything they could to make it up to him. I don't know what it was about Johnny. Maybe that lost puppy look and those big scared eyes were what made everyone his big brother, but they couldn't, no matter how hard they tried, take the place of his parents. I thought about it for a minute. Derry and Soda Pop are my brothers, and I love both of them, even if Derry did scare me, but not even Soda could take Mom and Dad's place, and they were my real brothers, not just like sort of adopted ones like we were to him. There's no wonder Johnny was hurt because his parents didn't want him. Dally could take it. Dally was of the breed that could take anything because he was hard and tough, and when he wasn't, he could turn hard and tough. I mean, Johnny was a good fighter and could play it cool, but he was sensitive, and that isn't a good way to be when you're a greaser. Blasted Johnny, Dally growled as we flew along the red road. Why didn't you think of turning yourself in 5 days ago? Would have saved a lot of trouble. I was scared, Johnny said with conviction. I still am. He ran his finger down one of his short black sideburns. I guess we ruined our hair for nothing, Pony Boy. I guess so. I was glad we were going back. I was sick of that church. I didn't care if I was bald. Dally was scowling, and from long and painful experience, I knew better than to talk to when his eyes were blazing like that. I'd likely as not get clobbered over the head. That happened before, just as it had happened to all the gang at one time or another. We rarely fought among ourselves. Derry was the unofficial leader since he kept his head best. Soda and Steve have been best friends since grade school. They never fought. And Two-Bit was just, I don't know, too lazy to argue with anyone. Johnny kept his mouth shut too much to get into arguments, and nobody ever fought with Johnny. I kept my mouth shut too. But Dally was a different matter. If something beefed him, he didn't keep quiet about it. And if you rubbed him the wrong way, look out. Not even Derry wanted to tangle with him. He was dangerous. Johnny just sat there and stared at his feet. He hated for any one of us to be mad at him. He looked awful sad. Dally glanced at him out of the corner of his eye. I just looked out the window. Johnny, Dally said in a pleading voice, using a tone I'd never heard from him before. Johnny, I ain't mad at you. I don't want you to get hurt. You don't know what a few months in jail can do to you. Oh, blast it, Johnny. He pushed his white blonde hair back out of his eyes. You get hardened in jail. I don't want that to happen to you like it happened to me. I kept staring out the window at the rapidly passing scenery, but I felt my eyes getting round. Dally never talked like that. Never. Dally didn't give a Yankee dime about anyone but himself, and he was cold and hard and mean. He never talked about his past or being in jail that way. If he talked about it at all, it was to brag. And I suddenly thought of Dally in jail at the age of 10. Dally growing up in the streets. My daughter giving me an awkward hug while Xavier Woodard tries to attack his sister with a random thing in the background. Down here, I'm watching it nonstop on my screen. I can see it right here. You can't see it now. Let's see, pop it over here. If we can move this. I try to highlight it. Can I not highlight it? Cancel anyway. Whatever's happening right there. She's being attacked nonstop by her brother. I can see him popping up in the background. It's mildly distracting on my screen. Not as distracting as a small child coming in and hugging me, but distracting. Anyway. Dally growing up in the streets. By the way, we're on page 90. I apologize for my daughter distracting me. Would you rather have me living in hideouts the rest of my life, always on the run? Johnny asked seriously. If Dally had said yes, Johnny would have gone back to the church without hesitation. He figured Dally knew more than he did, and Dally's word was law. But he never heard Dally's answer, for we had reached the top of Jay Mountain, and Dally suddenly slammed on the brakes and stared. Oh, glory, he whispered. The church was on fire. Let's go see what the deal is, I said, hopping out. What for? Dally sounded irritated. Get back in here before I beat your head in. So real quick to show you on this one. So here's what we have going on. The entire church is essentially on fire. So when they get back, we're going to find out more about that in just a second. I knew Dally would have to park the car and catch me before he could carry out his threat. And Johnny was already out and following me, so I figured I was safe. Elijah, what's up?
Okay, I'm glad you picked on me. So, speaking of that movie that I told you yesterday, I'm pretty sure I know what happens. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of kids in there, and then they're all gonna eat one of.
Yes, I had to mute you. Good job. You've actually seen the movie, which is of The Outsiders. So you've seen the movie of the book. But yes, we're getting ready to find out in just a second. Johnny was already out and following me, so I figured I was safe. We could hear him cussing us out, but he wasn't mad enough to come after us. There was a crowd at the front of the church, mostly little kids, and I wondered how they'd gotten there so quickly. I tapped the nearest grown-up. Hey, what's going on? Well, we don't know for sure, the man said with a good-natured grin. We were having a school picnic up here, and the first thing we knew, the place is burning up. Thank goodness this is a wet season, and the old thing is worthless anyway. Then to the kids, he shouted, hey, stand back, children. The firemen will be coming soon. By the way, we're getting ready to get to the part which is like my favorite part of the book, as you'll see in just a second. I bet we started it, I said to Johnny. We must have dropped a lighted cigarette or something. About that time, a lady came running up. Jerry, some of the kids are missing. Ah, they're probably around here somewhere. You can't tell with all this excitement where they might be. No, she shook her head. They've been missing for at least a half an hour. I thought they were climbing the hill. Then we all froze. Faintly, just faintly, you could hear someone yelling, and it sounded like it was coming from inside the church. All right, quick timeout. I gotta move this out of the way. Stop sharing. Stop it, computer. Bad computer. There we go. Me. So realize my favorite part of the book. I see it. Hang on, Chanel. I'm a client. Favorite part of the book. Best teacher ever. He takes a bunch of kids on a field trip. I don't know why you take a field trip to an abandoned church, but a teacher takes a group of kids, field trip to an abandoned church. Abandoned church catches on fire, starts to burn down. They can't find some of the kids. So what does this expert teacher do? Goes, it's okay. We've got the important ones. Who cares about the other children? That's like hashtag teacher goals right there. Thing burning down, kids missing, he does not care. I was like, if only I could be a teacher like that. Chanel, I can only assume you're raising your hand and say, Mr. Broviak, you are a teacher like that, and you would happily watch children burn. Chanel, what's up?
What page are we on?
Chanel, put your phone down and stop watching TikToks.
I'm not.
Page 91, dear.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So that was my favorite person in the book. But there's a scene coming up in a moment, which we're dealing with these kids, which is going to be my favorite scene in the book. And we'll get there in just a second. All right. And it sounded like the screams were coming from inside the church, halfway down page 91 for Chanel. The woman went white. I told them not to play in the church. I told them. She looked like she was going to start screaming. So Jerry, the super great teacher, shook her. I'll get them. Don't worry. I started a dead run for the church, and the man caught my arm. Say, I'll get them. You kids stay out. I jerked loose and ran on. All I could think about was, we started it. We started it. We started it. I wasn't about to go through that flaming door, so I slammed a big rock through a window and pulled myself in. It was a wonder I didn't cut myself to death, now that I think about it. Hey, Pony Boy? I looked around, startled. I hadn't realized Johnny had been right behind me all the way. I took a deep breath and started coughing. The smoke filled my eyes, and they started watering. Is that guy coming? Johnny shook his head. Window stopped him. He too scared? Nah, Johnny gave me a grin. Too fat. I couldn't laugh because I was scared I'd drown in the smoke. The roar and crackling was getting louder, and Johnny shouted the next question. Okay, quick timeout again. So here's where my imagination kicks in. I'm reading the book, and you have Jerry, the teacher, expert, awesome teacher, and he doesn't follow them in because apparently he's too fat to get to the window. So what I naturally picture is, for those of you who have ever seen the Winnie the Pooh cartoon, whenever Winnie the Pooh tries to jump into the tree and his little butt is sitting there and his little feet are kicking in the, that's what I imagined here was Jerry trying to jump through the window and him being too big and round. So he has little Jerry feet kicking out to the side. Probably not what happened, but I really entertained myself by thinking about him sticking out little Pooh feet. I'm sure he probably had pants on and didn't go full Pooh because that'd be creepy, but at least it gives you an idea. That's still not my favorite part. That's coming up in just a moment. All right. I couldn't laugh because I was scared I'd drowned in the smoke. The roar and crackling was getting louder, and Johnny shouted the next question. Where's the kids? In the back, I guess. I hollered, and we started stumbling through the church. I should be scared, I thought, with an odd detached feeling, but I'm not. The cinders and embers began falling on us, stinging and smarting like ants. Suddenly, in the red glow in the haze, I remembered wondering what it was like in a burning ember. It's a thing he said earlier in the book. And I thought, now I know. It's a red hell. Why aren't I scared? We pushed open the door to the back room and found 4 or 5 little kids, about 8 years old or younger, huddled in a corner. This is my favorite part coming up. One was screaming his head off, and Johnny yelled, "Shut up! We're going to get you out!" Then the kid looked surprised and quit hollering. I blinked myself. Johnny wasn't behaving at all like his old self. I would love to yell at kids in class and be like, "Shut up! I'm saving you!" and have kids actually shut up. But that's still not my favorite part yet. That's just an awesome part. I blinked myself. He wasn't behaving like his normal. He looked over his shoulder as all the door was blocked by flames, then pushed open the window and tossed out the nearest kid. I caught one quick look at his face. It was red marked from falling embers and sweat streaked, but he grinned at me. He wasn't scared either. That was the only time I can think of when I saw him without that defeated, suspicious look in his eyes. He looked like he was having the time of his life. Quick pause. Why this is my favorite part of the book. He is saving children by throwing them out windows. Do you know how many children I would save if all I had to do was huck them out of a window? I would be world famous for children saving. I would just go around and find random kids and just throw them out a window. They're like, why'd you throw that kid out a window? I'm like, he's safe. And I would save them nonstop. But apparently they yell at you, especially if you're not on the ground floor. So apparently that's a bad thing. But I love the idea of saving children by throwing them out windows. My second favorite part is getting ready to come up next. I picked up a kid and he promptly bit me, but I leaned out the window and dropped him as gently as I could, being in a hurry like that. A crowd was there by that time. Dally was standing there. When he saw me, he screamed, "For Pete's sake, get out of there. That roof's going to cave in any minute. Forget those blasted kids." Really short timeout. That's my other favorite part, when he's saving the kid and the kid bites him, because again, my imagination kicks in, much like you have the Winnie the Pooh thing. I imagine it's like a piranha in a cartoon where like a little kid bites onto like his hand and like he's shaking his hand back and forth and the kid's like flopping back like rawr, 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 on the end of his hand. And he pulls the kid off and throws him out of a window. My imagination kicked in really strongly on that part of like a little kid dangling from his hand and then throwing a kid out a window. It made me really happy. All right, continuing on now. Oh, hang on one second. I got to do a thing before I forget. Mohammed, when you ask me later why you got kicked out, this is why you got kicked out. Boop, you are now kicked out. Poor Mohammed, not making good choices. For Pete's sake, get out of there. That roof's going to cave in any minute. Forget those blasted kids. I didn't pay any attention. Although pieces of the old roof were crashing down too close for comfort, I snatched up another kid, hoping he didn't bite, and dropped him without waiting to see if he landed okay or not. I was coughing so hard I could hardly stand up, and I wished I had time to take off Dally's jacket. It was hot. We dropped the last of the kids out as the front of the church started to crumble. Johnny shoved me toward the window. "Get out!" I leaped out the window and heard timber crashing and the flames roaring behind me. I staggered, almost falling, coughing and sobbing for breath. Then I heard Johnny scream. As I turned to go back for him, Dally swore at me and clubbed me across the back as hard as he could, and then I went down into a peaceful darkness. So after he gets saved, he gets out, Dally essentially punches him in the back to save him. By the way, I would also save children if it involved punching them. But apparently we find out the reason his coat was so hot was because Ponyboy was literally on fire when he got out. And so Dally stopped him by doing that whole stop, drop, and roll, but he had to drop him by and punched Ponyboy, dropped him, and then put out the fire. Now we're getting ready to find out a bad thing happened, though. So I have to share again. Share, go to here, click. Click. So we're going to find out these are the roof beams, and we're going to find out they're going to be talking about one of these roof beams here in just a moment. So I'm going to leave those up for you guys to see. Bottom of page 93. When I came to, I was being bounced around, and I ached and smarted, fancy way of saying hurt, and wondered dimly where I was. I tried to think, but there was a high-pitched screaming going on, and I couldn't tell whether it was inside my head or out. Then I realized it was a siren. The fuzz, I thought dully, the fuzz being the police. The cops have come for us. I tried to swallow a groan and wished wildly for soda. Someone with a cold, wet rag was gently sponging off my face, and a voice said, "Hey, I think he's coming around." Oh, 1 second, I gotta do that, and then do that. Yes, Johnny did get hurt. I opened my eyes. It was dark. I was moving. I thought, wait, are they taking me to jail? "Where?" I said hoarsely, not able to get anything else out of my mouth. My throat was sore. I blinked at the stranger sitting beside me, but he wasn't a stranger. I'd seen him before. Take it easy, kid. You're in an ambulance. Where's Johnny? I cried, frightened at being in this car with strangers. And Dallas. They're in the other ambulance right behind us. Just calm down. You're going to be okay. You just passed out. I didn't either, I said in the bored, tough voice we reserved for strangers and cops. Dallas hit me. How come? Because your back was in flames? That's why. I was surprised. Wait, it was? Golly, I didn't feel it. It don't hurt. Well, we put it out before you got burned. That jacket saved you from a bad burning. Maybe saved your life. You just keeled over from smoke inhalation and a little shock. Of course, that slap on the back didn't help much. I remembered who he was then. Jerry, somebody or else, who was too heavy to get in the windows. The teacher who's like Winnie the Pooh. He must be a school teacher, I thought. Are you taking us to the police station? I was still a little mixed up. That's what was coming off. The police station? It was his turn to be surprised. What would we want to be taking you to the police station for? We're taking all three of you to the hospital. I let his first remark slide by. Are Johnny and Dally all right? Which one's which? Johnny has black hair. Dally's the mean-looking one. He studied his wedding ring. Maybe he's thinking about his wife, I thought. I wished he'd say something. We think the tow-headed kid, meaning the blonde. Tow-headed is blonde. That means Dally. We think the tow-headed kid's going to be all right. He burned one arm pretty badly, though, trying to drag that other kid out the window. Johnny, I don't know about him. A piece of timber caught him across the back. He might have a broken back, and he was burned pretty severely. He passed out before he got to the window. They're giving him plasma now. So when they say a piece of timber hit him, that's what they're talking about, these giant beams in the picture from the top of the church. That's what they're talking about, fell and hit him. So a beam smashed down, we're going to find out it did hurt him. So essentially he gets third-degree burns and then also got his back broken. So the bad news is he's burned all over his body, which hurts horribly. The good news is it broke his spine, so he's paralyzed and can't feel a thing. So it's like a good news, bad news kind of thing. But don't worry, it's going to get worse. He must have seen the look on my face because he hurriedly changed the subject. I swear you three are the bravest kids I've seen in a long time. First, you and that black-haired kid climbing in that window, and then that tough-looking kid going back in to save him. Mrs. O'Brien and I think you were sent straight from heaven. Or are you just professional heroes or something? Sent from heaven? And you gotten a good look at Dallas? No, we're greasers, I said. I was too worried and scared to appreciate the fact that he was trying to be funny. You're what? Greasers. You know, hoods, JDs. Oh, if you don't know what a JD is, JD stands for juvenile delinquent. If you don't know what a delinquent is, that's what I call some of you guys whenever I'm trying to be mean to you because you make me grumpy during class. A delinquent is like a hoodlum who makes poor choices. That's what a delinquent is. A juvenile delinquent is, juvenile is a child, so it means a child who makes poor choices. Typically one who gets arrested or one that does not turn in missing work for an English class, even though the English teacher has yelled at her multiple times. Oh, Kiana, you have a question? What's up?
So when you were talking about the sirens,
yeah,
I heard sirens.
Ooh, wow.
Right before.
That's kind of creepy. Hopefully they're not the same sirens from the book or the homework police. Anyway, back to the, can you see this? This is the shade that I'm throwing right now. And back to here. All right. We're taking you to a house. Are you kidding me? Jerry stared at me. Back up. Johnny is wanted for murder, and Dallas has a record with a fuzz a mile long. Are you kidding me? Jerry stared at me as if he thought I was still in shock or something. I'm not. Take me to town. You'll find out pretty quick. Well, we're taking you to a hospital there anyway. The address card in your billfold, so that's where you live. Your name really is Ponyboy? Yeah, it's even on my birth certificate. And don't bug me about it. I felt weak. Are the little kids okay? Yeah, just fine. A little frightened, maybe. There were some short explosions right after y'all got out. Man, that sounded just exactly like gunfire. Gunfire. Well, there went our gun, and Gone with the Wind. Were we sent from heaven? I started to laugh weakly. I guess that guy knew how close to hysterics I really was, for he talked to me in a low, soothing voice all the way to the hospital. Let's go back to the burning church. There we go. No, let's go to here. Let's go to me. Click. Enough of that. Stop sharing. And this guy. I was sitting in the waiting room waiting to hear how Dally and Johnny were. I'd been checked over, and except for a few burns and a big bruise across my back, I was all right. I'd watched them bring Dally and Johnny in on stretchers. Dally's eyes were closed, but when I spoke, he had tried to grin and had told me that I ever did a stupid thing like that again, he'd beat the tar out of me. He was still swearing at me when they took him on in. Johnny was unconscious. I'd been afraid to look at him, but I was relieved to see that his face wasn't burned. Sorry, hiccup. Hang on 1 second. I got to do a thing. There. Choices. Choices in the chat. Johnny was unconscious. I'd been afraid to look at him, but I was relieved to see that his face wasn't burned. He just looked very pale and still and sort of sick. I would have cried at the sight of him, so still, except I couldn't in front of people. Jerry Wood had stayed with me all the time. He kept thanking me for getting the kids out. He didn't seem to mind our being hoods. I told him the whole story, starting when Dallas and Johnny and I had met at the corner of Pickett and Sutton. I left out the part about the gun and our hitching a ride in the freight car. He was real nice about it. He said that being heroes would help us get out of trouble, especially since it was self-defense and all. I was sitting there smoking a cigarette when Jerry came back in from making a phone call. He stared at me for a second. Hey, you shouldn't be smoking. I was startled. How come? I looked at my cigarette. It looked okay to me. I looked around for a no smoking sign and couldn't find one. How come? Because you're too young? I am? I never even thought about it. Everyone in our neighborhood, even the girls, smoked, except for Derry, who was too proud of his athletic health to risk a cigarette. We'd all started smoking at an early age. Johnny had been smoking since he was 9. Steve started at 11, so no one thought it unusual when I started. I was the weed fiend in my family. Soda smokes only to steady his nerves or when he wants to look tough. See? Those of you who have not started smoking your cigarettes yet, apparently you're a bunch of slackers. You're all like 12 and 13 years old and you're not even addicted to cigarettes? That's embarrassing. You'll never get to hang out with all the greasers now. And yes, the movie is called The Outsiders. Jerry simply sighed, then grinned. There are some people here to see you. They claim to be your brothers or something? I leaped up and ran for the door, but it was already open, and Soda had me in a bear hug and was swinging me around. I was so glad to see him, I could have bawled. Finally, he set me down and looked at me. He pushed my hair back. Oh, pony boy, your hair. Your tough, tough hair. Then I saw Derry. He was leaning in the doorway, wearing his olive jeans and black t-shirt. He was still tall and broad-shouldered Derry, but his fists were jammed in his pockets and his eyes were pleading. I simply looked at him. He swallowed and said in a husky voice, Pony boy. I let go of Soda and stood there for a minute. Derry didn't like me. He'd driven me away that night. He had hit me. Derry hollered at me all the time. He didn't give a hang about me. Suddenly I realized, horrified, that Derry was crying. He didn't make a sound, but tears were running down his cheeks. I hadn't seen him cry in years, not even when Mom and Dad had been killed. I remember the funeral. I had sobbed in spite of myself. Soda had broken down and bawled like a baby, but Derry had only stood there, his fists in his pockets and that look on his face, that same helpless, pleading look he was wearing right now. In that second, what Soda and Dally and Two-Bit had been trying to tell me came through. Derry did care about me, maybe as much as he cared about Soda. And because he cared, he was trying too hard to make something out of me. When he yelled, Pony, where have you been all this time? He meant, Pony, you scared me to death. Please be careful, because I couldn't stand it if anything happened to you. Derry looked down and turned away silently. Suddenly, I broke out of my daze. Derry! I screamed, and the next thing I knew, I had him around the waist and was squeezing the daylights out of him. Derry, I'm sorry. He was stroking my hair, and I could hear the sobs racking him as he fought to keep back the tears. Oh, Pony, I thought we lost you, like we did Mom and Dad. That was his silent fear then, of losing another person he loved. I remembered how close he and Dad had been, and I wondered how I could ever have thought him hard and unfeeling. I listened to his heart pounding through his t-shirt and knew everything was going to be okay now. I had taken the long way around, but I was finally home to stay. Page 100, chapter 7. That's where I am going to stop. So now you're going to have to go from here, which is chapter 7 on page 100, and you're going to have to get to the end of chapter 8, which is going to be page 130. And so there's stuff, chapter 9, page 130. That's going to be your next stopping point. And then we're going to have the quiz over chapters 5, 6, 7, and 8 come Thursday. So it gives you about 30 pages to read. Again, if you want to take a look at the audiobook, you're more than welcome to. Elijah, one moment. I'll let you say goodbye to me. Let me put the thing back up there to help you guys. Not that, not that, this. So again, if you are wanting to do today's Socrative, it is Brovi 430, BROVI 430. You're going to connect something from chapter 6 to your life, an event that happened. Whether it's going to the hospital, whether it's hugging somebody in your family, whether it's throwing a child out of a window, or whatever other connection you might make. So tell me which event from chapter 6 connects to a thing that happened in your life. And then finish chapter 8 by Tuesday. Again, I have the audiobooks on the website if you are wanting to take a look at it. All right. Now I get to answer questions and help you. I won't get a chance to yell at you guys again until next Tuesday, which does make me sad. Elijah.
Bye, Mr. Broviak.
Bye, Elijah. Well, now it makes me all sad knowing that your byes are actual goodbyes because I might not see you again for a while. So hopefully whenever we get a chance to open up the school and you come in, I'll be there and I'll get a chance to actually see you. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that I'll actually get to interact with you at some point.
Bye, Mr. Broviak.
See, Elijah. All right. Gavin, it's good to see you again since I actually got to randomly see you last night.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. I got to see you at the King's anniversary.
I know. It was like actually seeing real humans. I didn't realize you were over there. When I turned around, I'm like, I know that kid. It was all kinds of exciting. So, yay. It's good to be able to see you also.
Nice.
Yeah. Check you. This kid, hang on to there. Pearl, were you excited by your own face?
No, my sister doesn't want to say hi.
Oh, all I saw was an empty doorway, so yeah.
No, Melanie's at the doorway. She just doesn't want to come up.
Luckily, she was hiding behind your Visc bottle because I could not actually see her. She was right behind the bottle, so it blocked her perfectly.
Oh, darn it. Okay, Mr. Broviak, is it No Shave November again for you?
It is quarantine beard time where I'm like,
No.
why bother shaving? I don't have to leave the house anymore. So yeah,
No.
it's I've got, hang on a second, let's put stop, cancel that kid, put this kid, and so yeah, I've got fuzzy beard thing going on because
Oh no.
I have to be in the
It's
classroom,
phase.
then I'm more than happy to shave. If I'm just stuck here in my room, then who cares anymore? So I feel the same way. If we had to see each other in person, it would be gone and you wouldn't have to worry about it nearly as much. Thanks for calling me out on it, Pearls. It's so nice of you.
Okay, bye.
Dudes. And Marin.
Okay, so are we gonna find out what's wrong with Johnny in chapter 7?
We find out more about it, yes, because he goes to see him in the hospital, and so you're gonna find out more of what's actually going on with him coming up. So that'll be it's either 7 or 8, but it's definitely in one of the next 2 chapters. You do get to find out a lot more about him because Pony Boy and some other guys go talk to him. So yep, it'll be good to go on that one.
Okay.
By the way, I like your hair. It looks all floppy today.
Thank you.
Welcome. And then back to here, and no more picking on Marin. All right. I guess that's so hang on, back to this kid. So Lizzie, midway through, I did spotlight your video because let's see, where is Lizzie on there? Because there you are. Because I was watching you and Xavier, I'm guessing, fight because I was rather distracted.
Yeah.
He kept popping up. Like you were shooting him with something, and then he was like came back in. I watched him sneak up behind you. Then all of a sudden, like your camera was just showing the ceiling, and I'm afraid you died.
I'm okay. He's crying in his room right now because I beat him up.
Nicely done. Do you want to do like a little flexing thing? Nicely done. All right.
But they canceled my McDonald's orders. That's so sad.
That does sound horrifyingly upsetting. I'm sorry that you're going to have to order different food from somewhere. Good luck.
I'm ordering from Arby's now.
Ooh, that's what I had just yesterday. It was delicious. Or you could make like an actual sandwich at your house. And I'm picking on this kid. I'm assuming, Juanita, that you're on a hoverboard as I watch you go flying back and forth in the background. All right. It certainly freaked me out the first time when I was watching you all of a sudden go zipping by. I thought you were like a witch, and then I realized that's probably not what was going on, so it makes a lot more sense. So what is your food choice right now?
Snicker bar.
No, solid choice on that one. All right. Cancel that one. And then we have Ryland. Thank you for the loot llama. Braden, you look something like I'm assuming Lizzie's brother looks like. It looks like you just got attacked and beat up also. But I did look like a small monkey child jumping around in your background too. So I'm assuming that monkey child was your own sibling that was attacking you. Yeah. Well, it looks like you survived on that one. Ooh, hang on one second. And spotlight. That's a bathtub sailboat. That is a bathtub sailboat. How adorable. Was that the doodle that you created? I wish it could have been on a desk. That would have been so much better, but now you don't get to draw on my desk. We'll see if next year's kids do it. Ryland, I think there's an earthquake wherever you are. Let's see, hang on one second. I can just do this. Allow you guys to, hang on. So is that a drawing of Baby Yoda up there behind you? Nice. I like the drawing of Baby Yoda. Very nice. Quality. All right. Then Ashlyn, I see no adorable puppy or kitten creature. It's like 90% of the time whenever I look up and see you on video, there's like something fuzzy and adorable that's there with you. So nice. All right. I guess we're good to go. Latrell's not going to. Oh, there's Latrell. I do get to pick on him for just a moment. So Latrell, is Mama Latrell listening in the background, or was it just you? You're just going to, no, just you? Oh, all right. At least I got to see your face for a split second there, so that's something. Small win on there. Apparently, Ryland's being attacked again, and looks like Juanita just fell down the stairs. To each their own. All right, well, go. Hang on. I drew it with a pen. That is true. I probably would have been slightly grumpy if you had drawn it with a pen on my desk, although some kids still drew on my desk with pens, but we call those horrible children, which we're going to assume that you probably were not. All right. Go enjoy your McDonald's or Arby's or wherever random food item you're going to be getting. Or for those of you who actually make your own food, enjoy that. We'll talk next week. I'll send out reminds to you and stuff like that. Toodles.